sort of favourite fighters, for me it was Ricky Hatton that kind of got me into the sport. I kind of was at that time when he was taking over like 20,000 to Vegas and stuff like that, and beat to do. So that was kind of my favourite fighter. What growing up was your favourite fighter or fighters?
So I worked across the Zeus gym, funnily enough. Yeah, I was in Australia for a year, and that's one of my favourite fights. For me, it was Nassim Hamed was the guy, and I think we make comparisons with Lomachenko only in the sense that a great fighter from every era often does something that goes completely against what the textbook teaches you, and the reason it's so effective, if done well, is because there's no blueprint to prepare for it. Therefore, how can you prepare for a guy like Nassim Hamed, who's leaning back right over the centre of his balance, should be tipping over, but somehow he's still on balance. He can hit you with power shots from any angle, he can slip shots, he can make you miss. Psychologically, you've got a guy dancing in front of you, making you feel that tall. And just occasionally you chuck a few of those attributes in the mix with a guy that had the commercial appeal and that sort of brash, braggadocious nature when he went over to the States, and he was louder than the Americans. I mean, how many times were those guys down in that fight? 3 times each or something? He gave us some unbelievable nights. I was gutted when he eventually lost to Pereira and just was never the same after that. And I felt disappointed in what happened in his life in the 10 years after that. And every time I see him now, I'm always tinged with a little bit of like sadness, and I think, I wish he'd just given those last couple of years a bit more, because I feel he still had more in him. But for me, growing up, he's the guy who sticks out in my head as probably the biggest influence.
What do you think it says about British boxing now? I know, to be fair, we've seen a lot of fighters now start to move over to the US market with the likes of the zone coming into the game, injecting so much money into the game. But what do you think it still says about where we are in terms of world boxing when we can bring over someone like Lomachenko, who wants to fight here, who he loves, comes over and he's getting cheered, and he's obviously enjoying it here. And
I think it says we've got some of, if not the best fans in the world. I know we're a fickle bunch. You've only got to go on Twitter for a couple of weeks and search boxing hashtags to know that the public in boxing can be a bit fickle, and they've got a right sometimes. Pay-per-views are being sort of maybe too frequent. It is a very saturated market, you're right. But I think generally speaking, when someone like Lomachenko comes over and he watches a Joshua in Phil Wembley Stadium, he comes over and watches his best mate Alexander Usyk and Tony Bellew in front of 18,000 at Manchester Arena. Those atmospheres, you don't find them in many places in the world, in any sport, let alone just in boxing. And for someone like him, once you get to the top of the game, you have to ask yourself, what is in it for you? More belts, more money, but he's going to want memorable nights to add to his legacy. And you're going to get memorable nights like tonight in front of the sorts of crowds that are going to come out. I mean, you heard the reception of the weigh-in, you see the reception that he gets. He's not even from this country, he's from Eastern Europe. A kid growing up in completely different environment.
Yesterday, when he got out of the car, we were standing right by the car waiting for him to come out, and he just got crawling straight through, everyone clambering over himself to try and get to him. So yeah, the fans there is amazing.
Of course it is, and you have to remember that in the UK, boxing competes with far less sports than it does in the United States. In the US, you've got huge networks and they prioritise the money, so baseball, NFL, basketball. Over here, boxing has a much higher standing. Obviously, football's our national sport. Cricket's doing well at the moment. Boxing sits far higher up the rankings. And so when people come over here, we're a small island. We've got maybe 60 million, 70 million compared to the 300 plus in the United States, but such a much higher percentage of those fans love, know and follow boxing. So if you're one of the best fighters in the world, you're going to come over here and you will on some level be appreciated in a way that you just couldn't anywhere else on the planet.
Going to a little place, I mean, I know it's sort of overused, but York, all that kind of real spit and sawdust. It's so unique to us as a country, I think.
And Lomachenko would have got a small taste of what the British fans are all about when he boxed. He got Sam Metzger twice, and I was there for I forget if it was the first or the second time, I was there that night, and there was, I don't know what your pool holds, 2,500. I reckon there was at least half of those were Ukrainian fans, half were British fans. The noise in that place that night, I still remember it. And for him, he thought, I'm going to want to come back here as a pro. So to be packing out 18,000 sold out a couple of weeks ago to the rafters tonight, he will, in all of his glory from Beijing, from London, he will never have experienced an atmosphere like he will tonight.
And then just looking at the card tonight as a whole, you know, you don't have to go through every fight in detail, but what are you looking forward to tonight? Outside of the main event, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, BEASTIE is one of my best mates, so I'll be sticking closely with him tonight. I've loved his progress. I'm always going to be biased because he's my friend, but I do think he's the best light heavyweight in the country. Not necessarily on merit. Of course, we saw Yard step up unsuccessfully against Campbell. Callum Johnson's had a couple of. I think his effort against Petoviev was absolutely phenomenal. I think in terms of longevity and the guy that's going to stay the course and go all the way, for me, it's BEASTIE.
You think he beats Campbell now?
I have to say yes, in that if Yard would get so close, I think BEASTIE in that 8th round, I think BEASTIE would have set a higher pace early. Kovalev, we know hasn't got the best gas tank in the world.
Wouldn't have been so far down by round 5 or 6.
Yeah, the thing with Yard, he doesn't set a high pace, and if Kovalev was gassing at that pace, he would have been potentially gassing even a couple of rounds earlier against BEASTIE. And I think the thing that Yard doesn't do that BEASTIE does is sometimes he leaves his feet behind him when he's throwing combinations. So he'll take his feet for the 1, sometimes he'll throw the 2 and the 3, and he'll miss because his feet have gone behind him. BEASTIE always, he reaches, he misses. And so Kovalev, although he was in trouble in that 8th round, he had enough about him to reel backwards, he could jab in between the long hooks, and he kept himself at bay and he gave himself a breather. BEASTIE would take his feet with him, he'll throw sharp, clinical shots, he's always on balance, he'll rip it to the body in a way that Yard just doesn't. And again, that's no disrespect to Yard whatsoever. I thought it was a great effort for what he's done and his background in the sport, but that amateur pedigree and the seasoning BEASTIE's had, multiple ABA champion, Olympic bronze medalist, and you know 11-0 as a progress champion now. I think that experience against an older, very worn-out Kovalev, I have to say, could well have seen him through. But look, again, I'll fully admit my bias, but that's just my personal opinion given what we saw Saturday.
So look forward to seeing BEASTIE tonight. Edwards Martinez, Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez. Again, I watched the Selby fight, and I was really shocked because, again, Andrew Selby's someone that I've seen for a long time in the amateurs. For me, he's one of the best amateurs I've seen in a long time. You know, he's a good mate of Joe Cordina's. I used to
Got off night for him?
I don't think it was an off night. I think what happened was this is a guy that's lost his brother not too, 4 or 5 years ago. His mum passed away suddenly last year, and that hit him like a ton of bricks. He's not necessarily had the opportunities that he could have through promotion. And when you have things like that happen in your private life, no one knows how that can affect you. I mean, Darren Barker's become a good friend of mine. He's talked openly about the struggles he went through when he lost his brother. You lose your brother and your mum in the same family, that's tough. He also went over very short notice against Martinez. He was a couple of thousand feet above sea level. If you've ever done any sport at altitude without acclimatisation, it will absolutely take the arse out of you. So it's hard to know how good Martinez is versus what sort of version that was of Selby. And, you know, ultimately we're going to find out tonight. Charlie a little bit weight trained yesterday. I think we'll see him at Superfly.
I heard actually they said he wanted to check his weight. As soon as he got out of the car, they wanted to check his weight. So he did he might be struggling a little bit at the flyweight. I think naturally he's a super flyweight, to be fair, but he is. He's won the title and therefore he's got a fight for title.
Exactly. I actually think Charlie will go up 2 weights in the end, and I think that might be part of his legacy that he wins titles at multiple weights. And of course the caveat fight in the weight above is always there for him. And with Sonny coming down to fly now, maybe he'll be the man to sort of lead the charge for Britain in the flyweight division in the future. But I would back Charlie 100% tonight. He's a great guy. I think he's a good advert for the sport. He's worked his socks off, and he's really sort of grown into the mould of a champion. Total self-belief. He learned so much from that defeat against John Real Casanero, and you saw a different version of him against Rosales, and I back him to come out top.
And then finally, obviously, the one we're all here for, the main event, Lomachenko. What realistic chance do you give Campbell? I have to maybe doing Campbell a bit of a disservice, but he's that good and he poses so many issues. It's difficult to see past Lomachenko win.
Yeah, it's again, that's the thing. It's no disrespect to Luke at all. I mean, when you think again, you talk about the effect that losing a loved one has. He lost his dad, I don't know how many days before the Linares fight, but not very long at all. And that was a fight that was on a knife edge, you know, had one other round gone slightly differently, he could have had his hand raised, he wasn't dropped. Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about the path he's been on, Olympic gold medalist, it's very, I feel disrespectful in saying give him maybe 20% chance in there, but it's more just credit to how unbelievably good and how unique Lomachenko is. we were talking to Anthony Crolla on the previous show, and he said the thing that you can't put into words is how tired you are after a couple of rounds. Anthony Crolla is not the most talented fighter in the world, he'd be the first to admit that, but he's got a good engine, grafts hard, and he was, after 2 or 3 rounds, really feeling the pace. It's the foot feints, it's the hand feints, it's the darting in and out of range, it's the angles, he's constantly selling. He'll sell you something as if he's going to commit and make you draw the lead. He'll be out of range, you'll be completely over the front foot, off balance, he'll tag you with a couple of shots, spin off to the side, and that's within the first 2 or 3 rounds. He might give you 3, even 6 minutes if he thinks you're particularly cagey, to try and work out what it is you're going to do. But once he goes to work, he puts his foot down. Normally you see fighters, I mean, Usyk is a classic example. He winds the pace up slowly over 8, 9, 10 rounds. He did it against Bellew, it was perfect. You know, Bellew was in it, first 4 or 5 rounds, it was competitive, but the more he cranked it up...
levels, you could see Bellew tired massively in that fight, because he was just constantly, all the time, feinting, trying to outbox Usyk.
Exactly that. Whatever you do there, they're on the edge of punching range. And I think that's going to be the thing that Luke won't be able to account for, is how fatigued he's going to feel. Doesn't matter how many rounds he's done with Josh Taylor, he's been good rounds with Alfred Price, who are really great by the way. But when you're in there with something like that under the lights, you get tagged, the crowd roar, suddenly your adrenaline starts to pump, and he's going to find himself in the deepest water he's been in, and it's basically about what he can produce in those moments. Shane McGuigan says he hits harder with a single shot than Josh Taylor does. 135-pounder, that's a decent statement. Because Josh Taylor's not a huge puncher, but he's decent.
Yeah, get your respect.
Absolutely. So, you know, if Luke catches him with something, could he put him down the way Linares did? Absolutely. Does that potentially change the narrative of the fight? Absolutely. And I think that's what we've got to bank on. We've got to bank on Luke maybe getting one big opportunity in the fight, and if it does, I think it's got to be kitchen sink time, because you're not going to win this. And I would never advocate the sort of throw the empty the tank at him like we saw with Yarlington at the weekend. But I do think in this situation, if you get an opportunity, you've got to try and shut the front door on Lomachenko.
Perfect. Thank you very, very much for the time.
Ben, absolute pleasure, mate.
Really appreciate that, mate.
Listen, anytime. Good luck with the YouTube channel, mate. I hope it goes well.
Thank you very much. Cheers.